Thank you, my friend.
Lawrence, you are in Texas right now, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, with that, we got to bring in Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw to help us out with some news of the day. Good morning to you, Congressman.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
You know, Congressman, there is so much going on right now with COVID, a shortage of testing, a shortage of monoclonal antibodies that I don't think is getting enough attention. And for the very first time ever, President Biden is sort of washing his hands of this and saying that there is no such thing as a federal solution to all this. What do you make of the current state of things when it comes to COVID and President Biden's recent remarks?
Yeah, it's like he gets it backwards. So there is a federal response to COVID. It's just not what he's doing. So what he's doing is imposing unconstitutional mandates. You know, there's OSHA mandates that would require businesses to fire workers who aren't vaccinated. That's the opposite of what he should be doing. What he should be doing is aiding our supply systems and aiding our healthcare system. So how do you do that? Well, President Trump did it by engaging in Operation Warp Speed, by creating a testing regime that was really second to none by the time it was up and going. All Biden had to do was continue to those things, continue improving upon those things. And he sort of washed his hands of it and instead tried to take this hammer to the situation instead of the scalpel that has been needed by the federal government to actually get things going. You know, in Texas, we are one of those states that doesn't have these monoclonal antibodies anymore. We've run out. We've been complaining to the administration about how these formulas are distributed not just before monoclonal antibodies, but also for vaccine distribution as well. And so this administration just hasn't had the organizational wherewithal to really deal with this. And they're learning the hard way that they probably owe the Trump administration an apology, because as I recall, everybody called Trump a murderer just because there was a global pandemic coming through and it was the first time we dealt with it.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Just how things can change so quickly. You know, you're in Congress, you're sitting there, you're a Texan, but you're in D.C. It's probably hard a little bit to see this happening to the people you care about and represent, to not be able to go get a test or to just have an administration seem lazy on the job. What can Congress do? What can you do as their congressman now? And I don't mean to point it directly at you, but what can Congress do to help your constituents to maybe get tests or feel better about this?
Well, we'd love to be able to give you better news, but the reality is Congress has already appropriated tens of billions of dollars to this specific problem. Right now, it's a management problem. It's the executive branch is not executing these dollars in an efficient manner. That's what's going on. And again, look, I'm a conservative. I always make sure people know there is only so much government can do. And the moment that it starts doing more than it should be doing, you start to see unintended second and third order consequences that harm everybody worse than you wanted to. So what the federal government should be doing, again, using their FEMA resources to bolster a lot of these testing sites, open up new testing sites. This is what we saw happen under the Trump administration. We should be using our resources to increase those supply chains to get those monoclonal antibodies out to people faster. And President Biden announced this, we just haven't seen results from it, helping us get more healthcare workers, either from the military or from FEMA, to aid in some of these hospitals that are feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Still worth noting that at our height of hospitalizations right now, it really doesn't even compare to the heights that we had before in 2020. So I don't want people to panic about this, but look, take the same precautions you've been taking for 2 years.
Yeah, I think you're right, Congressman. We got to live with this. We got to learn how to protect the vulnerable. And if we do that, I think we're going to be just fine. I want to shift to some foreign policy news. President Biden is expected to speak with Russian leader Vladimir Putin ahead of the Geneva talks. So what should the president project today? It seems like after that last chat that he had, Putin really didn't get the message. He sent more troops. So what does he need to do today to project strength?
So President Biden has to make clear that there will be costs and consequences to whatever Putin does with the Ukraine. Now, I think everybody knows that we're not really willing to send troops to the Ukraine and fight the Russians in Eastern Europe for this. And there's a lot of people on our side. There's a lot of people commentating that these warmongers are just trying to get us into war. Well, just hold up a little bit. There's a lot of options in between doing nothing and in between war. Lots of options up there, mostly economic sanctions. That's what President Biden has been talking about. It seems he needs to be a bit more specific and maybe hit Putin a little bit more personally with his own finances if there's going to actually successfully deter the Ukraine. I think taking a page out of the Trump playbook would actually work quite well here. What Trump did, which was different than the Obama administration, was actually give the Ukrainians defense weapons as opposed to, say, logistical supplies and that kind of aid. That sends a pretty clear message to the Russians that this fight will not be as easy as you want it to be. Doesn't mean America is going to come in, gunslinging, going to war. That's not what this means at all. What it does mean is that there will be some minimal amount of support that make the cost too high for you to do this.
Yeah, one of the more concerning headlines today affects your home state of Texas. In Harris County, 113 people charged with capital murder. So the most serious crime there is. They were granted bond, released back into the community, and some of them re-offended. And when you're talking about 113 people, this isn't just a one-off. This seems to be the system that's in place. What needs to change here, Congressman?
Yeah, and this was some great local reporting done in my hometown, which showed us what we already knew, that a lot of the crime being committed is being committed by the same exact people over and over and over again. They just keep getting released out on bail. Now, for violent offenders, you really got to scratch your head and wonder how that's possible. I mean, these are people who are being charged with capital murder and then released on bond, no problem, left out into the streets, and big surprise, they actually commit another murder and kill again. There are people who should be alive right now were it not for these liberal judges who they operate off of this false sense of compassion. They think they're doing the world a kindness of some sorts by letting these criminals get out. But in the end, they're doing the opposite. It's malevolent in its nature because they go out and they hurt people. They harm people. These are violent people. Yeah. There's a reason we have a system the way we have it. This is happening not just in Houston, of course. This is the story across all major American cities where you're seeing murders spike. The bail reform, the false compassion of DAs and prosecutors that were funded by George Soros to be in those positions, that is the story of crime across America right now. The good news is for America, we can vote them out. DAs, judges, in Texas we vote for judges. We can vote them out and get our streets back.
Yeah.
You talk about voting them out. I know that Texas, I lived in Texas for a little while, for a couple of years, and I think I'm 18 years from being able to call myself a Texan. I was told it had to be 20 years to claim the title. But when I was there, I was around Austin, and a lot of people were moving in from Southern California. The tech industry was there. And I know Texas, like where I'm at in Georgia, the balance of power is kind of evening out. It's kind of 50-50. Is this a part of that? Is that why we're seeing stuff like this happen in Texas, or is this just kind of a one-off thing happening here, and I think it's Harris County?
Well, you're somewhat correct. I wouldn't compare it to Georgia just yet. I think it's still a lot redder than Georgia has become. But it is the story of the urban-rural divide, where in urban areas it gets bluer and bluer and bluer, and the rural areas just get redder and redder. And so it's tougher and tougher in these blue areas. I mean, Houston, until recently, was run by a Republican county judge. Harris County was a Republican county judge. But that changed recently, and look at the outcomes that we get because of that. So I think people are able to see past their sort of jersey wearing here of the red and the blue and just voting for your team and see the consequences of policy actions. And I hope that remains the case.
Yeah, you're right, Congressman. There's something similar in Dallas as well. You know, Dallas is run by a lot of the progressives, but the suburbs outside of Dallas, within the county, they're more red. So part of your efforts is to keep Texas red, and that's a big issue in our state. So you got exclusives for Fox and Friends. You're going to unveil Texas Reloaded 2 in an effort to keep Texas red. We got a little clip of it, and then we'll have you react, Congressman. Watch.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to need another team.
So, Congressman, you got yourself in there, obviously. You got Wesley Hunt, a veteran, as well as Morgan Luttrell, also another veteran.
That's right. And that's just a little teaser for you. We're still working on the rest of the movie. It's going to be really cool. And you can support our efforts to do that, by the way, at texasreloaded.com. That's where people can go and make sure that we get this really cool ad up on TV and get these two guys elected. So they're both running right there in the Houston area for Texas 38 and Texas 8. Great guys, veterans. Wesley Hunt's a former Apache pilot, West Point grad. Morgan Luttrell is a SEAL for 14 years. He was handpicked by Rick Perry to work under the Trump administration for the Department of Energy. Very smart guy, small business owner. I mean, you can't imagine better candidates for Congress right now. And our elections are coming up. That's why we're doing this video right now, because our primary elections are coming up in early March. And so I want to get these two over the finish line, and you can support them at texasreloaded.com.
Well, Congressman, I still remember the first one that you did in 2020, and it had airplane, explosions, the whole thing. So it really is a good idea because it sticks in people's memories. What is it like filming an ad like this, and whose idea was this?
It's my idea. These are generally my idea. I enjoy this kind of. I'll admit it. It's my idea. And I like doing this sort of creative direction kind of thing. I mean, if you follow me, you probably get a sense for that, of course, already. And what's it like? I mean, look, we bring in a really professional crew to do this, so it does feel like you're on a movie set because these guys usually use the same crew over and over again. We've become friends. They're really all about the cause. They're awesome. They're awesome people. And they're usually working on much higher level productions, TV shows, movies, that kind of thing. So they really know what they're doing, and it's a fun thing. You'd be surprised. We get it all done within a day. So the people editing this stuff, it takes them a long time. But for us, it's not that much time out of our day.
Go ahead, Joey. Go ahead.
Yeah, Congressman, real quick, I just want to say I love your edgy advertising campaigning. I think you do a great job reaching people. Wesley and Morgan are great guys. I've known them forever. But I just need to remind you, it's not just socialists that skip leg day. I just kind of need to throw that out there. I've seen the T-shirt, and I appreciate it. But it's not just socialists that skip leg day, all right?
Who else is it? You don't mind me asking.
Ask Brian Mast. You can talk to him and guys like me.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Covering a range of topics there.
Sorry, I can't see you guys, so now I'm getting it now. Trying to laugh about that.
We hear you.
The old leg jokes.
All right, thanks, Congressman. Appreciate it.